Hello, welcome to Learn to Play Chess. Today we're learning the last piece on the chessboard, and he's the most important because once you've captured the king, you've won. No matter how many pieces you may have lost, no matter if your opponent has got more pieces on the board than you, if you've captured the king, you have won. And this is what the king looks like. Now every chess set is different, but it's going to look something like that. Let's just recap where we've come to first, just in case it's been a while since the last videos. The front row soldiers are the pawns. They can only go forwards, but they can only go forward one square on each move. They can't capture a piece going forward. They can't go forwards and capture, but they can go diagonally and capture, but they can't go diagonally any other time. On their first go, they can go the usual one square forward, or if you choose, you can take them 2 squares forward, but you've only got that option on each pawn's very first go. And when it gets to the end of the board, on the move that gets that final square, you take the pawn off and you can put any other piece in its place that you want, except for the king. And I won't go into it again, but that crazy en passant move of capturing a black pawn diagonally by slotting in behind it. Oh, that was so complicated, wasn't it? Hopefully you've got that already. Then we learnt the rook, the two on the back corners here. They go forwards, backwards, left, right, as many spaces as you want, up until the point where it either captures an enemy piece or one of your own pieces. Stop it. The knights come inside the rooks here. They can jump over pieces of either side, and they go 2 in one direction and 1 to the left. But that first direction's got to be square. Frontwards, backs, left or right. So 2 and then 1 to the side. It can capture the piece that it lands on. It doesn't capture the pieces it jumps over. Then the bishops, the ones that go diagonally. And the queen is the piece that can go and do anything a rook or a bishop can do. So left, right, backwards, front, and all the diagonal directions it wants. So what about the king? Well, no prizes for getting. The king goes on the last remaining square. Do you remember last time we said these last 2 squares? The queen goes on the square of her own colour, and so the king goes on the other square. That's where he lives. What moves can a king make? Like a king can move in any direction you want, but it can only move 1 square. So you get the picture. The king can go in any direction you want, but only 1 square at a time. So from there, it can go to every square around it, but only 1 square. So you are ready to play full-blown chess, are you not? Well, not quite. There's a little rule about the king you need to know. You see, although you would take every other piece by landing on the square and taking the piece away, you don't actually do that with the king. I want you to imagine this is the old school battlefield from years, centuries ago, but it's a very honourable battlefield. So if you're the soldier, the rook or the knight, and you're there getting to the king, you find him on the battlefield, you put a sword to his throat, you don't actually put the sword through him, but he surrenders because you've got him and you've won the battle. That's what happens in chess. I told you it was like war, didn't I? So I want you to imagine this sort of thing is going on in a game. You've got the black king and I'm playing for white. I want to capture the king. Let's say it's the king's move and he goes there. I could come up like this. And let's say he tries to run away. Now that would be a very silly move. You can't actually do that. To capture a piece, I would normally do that. But I can't do that on the king. So imagine the king is in that position. I'm over here. And I move to this position. Now that means that the next move I make, if the king stays there, I could capture him. When I get into that position, I warn my opponent that he is in that position. And I say, check. That is a warning to say, I have your king in my sights and I could pull the trigger if I wanted to. At this point, rules tend to change. If the king is in check, he's got to do something about it. So if black's had another piece up here, he couldn't say, well, do you know what, I'm just going to come here. No, he's got to do something about that king that's in check. He's got to try and escape. Now, of course, you could run away and I could chase. You could run away and I could chase. You could, of course, come diagonally forward and now he's at risk. And if he doesn't do anything, the king's going to take him. There are 3 ways you've got to think about getting out of check. So if I was in this position, the rook has moved and put the black in check. Think of 3 things. 1, can the king move out of position? Well, he can. He can move here, 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 and here. The king can't move along here or here because he'll still be in check. That is, he's in the line of sight of that piece, and on the next move he could be taken theoretically. So he can't make that move. That would be an illegal move in chess. It would also be illegal if he wasn't in check and he moved there and put himself into check. A king can't put himself into check. Now, when you play with a friend, you might accidentally, when there are a lot of pieces on the board, put your king into check by mistake. That's where these computer games come in really handy. If you're playing chess online or on a computer program, it won't let you do that. So let's imagine I've moved my rook to the king. Number 1, he's got to move out of check. Number 2 is, say there is another black piece here. Can this black piece remove the threat? Okay, so that's another way of getting out of check. And the third way is if another piece were to come along and block that check move. So the next move the rook makes could not capture the king, so you can make it. He's not in check. He is now, but of course the king will now take him. Of course you can't block a knight because that can jump over you. Of course this can happen in any part of the board with any piece. We're just using rooks as an easy example. The king is in check, meaning that if the game did continue like this, if the king stayed still, the rook could now take the king, but we don't actually do that in check. The king can either move, the other team can take that piece, or the other team can block that piece. The 3 ways of getting out of check. So how do you finally win at chess? Well, we get the king into a check that he can't get out of. So at the moment he's not in check. But look, the queen has got all this ground covered and this ground covered. So the king can't move here, here or here. Let's say I bring in my rook on the next move. All of a sudden that king can't go into those 3 spaces. He's in check from the rook. He can't move there or there because he'll still be in check from the rook. He's only got 1 of 3 places to go that is still safe, there, there or there. So he goes there. What do I do next? Remember, I'm white. I'm simply going to move my queen here. And now he's run out of space. Same situation. He can't move here, here or here because he's in check by the rook. He's in check by the queen. He can't move forward because he's still in check by the queen. He can't move back because he's still in check with the queen. He can't do anything. That is what we call checkmate. Now this is a very simple way of checking the king. It's one I always like to do. If I can, you can trap the king in all kinds of ways. But you get to that position where the king is trapped. No other piece can come in and block the piece that's checking them. And no other piece can come and take the piece out of the way, can capture that piece. So if those 3 things cannot be done, the king is in checkmate and whites have won. So you now have all the pieces on the board. You know how they're used. Go over any video that you want to just to remind yourself of what they do. But now you can play a full game of chess. Remember, you can capture any piece with any other piece, but you don't actually capture the king. You put them into a situation that they can't get out of. When they're put into a situation where they are under threat, you say check. And when you check them and they can't get out of it, that is checkmate. Now, there's still a number of little things to go over, because that's not absolutely everything. But you know all the pieces now. You know what they do. There's nothing new about that. So your training, your practice, your drill, your homework is to go and play chess. I'll see you next time.